Before departing for Hungary, President Xi signed a joint statement with Serbian President Alexander Vučić in Belgrade. They announced they will deepen their comprehensive strategic partnership and build a China-Serbia community with a shared future. During Xi's state visit, the leaders held a joint news conference and witnessed the signing of a series of cooperation documents. Chinese President Xi saying his visit to Serbia will open a new chapter of history for bilateral relations. For more now on President Xi's visit to Serbia and his 5-day European tour, we're joined by William Lee. William is the chief economist at the Milken Institute. William, good to see you again.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
Okay, let's kind of get right to it. Obviously, these two nations have close ties. Any student of history knows that. Discuss the importance behind Xi Jinping's trip to Serbia, and in terms of strengthening bilateral ties, these two areas are very close.
Yeah.
Tell me about
Sean,
your takeaway from this and how you think that these two can build on this.
Well, Sean, Serbia is ranked by the World Bank as sort of in the middle income countries, the lower end of the middle income countries. And it can stand to benefit tremendously from the injection of foreign capital from China as part of the Belt and Road project to build its infrastructure, and also a lot of manufacturing aid, as we just heard about photovoltaic cells and other technologies that China excels in. Serbia is one of these countries that also stands to gain membership into the EU. In fact, with the war with Russia, the EU has placed very high priority on getting a lot of Eastern European and Baltic countries into the EU, and Serbia certainly stands to gain from that. Because of that, China also then gets an inroad into all of the EU by way of Serbia, and building up the productive capacity of Serbia will also be a way of allowing China to export some of its technology via Serbia into the rest of the EU.
You know, we had an analyst on, I think it was Monday, talking about the way the EU perhaps was greeting the president and the way many of these other nations are, and he characterized it as kind of good cop, bad cop. Kind of expand on that a bit and discuss the significance and the economic cooperation, the investment deals that already have been signed during President Xi's visit.
Well, all of the deals that have been signed really go toward building up Serbia's manufacturing capacity. Right now, Serbia is running a huge balance of trade deficit with China because it's exporting like minerals and raw materials to China and importing a lot of machinery. And to finance this deficit, a lot of the foreign investment is coming in from China, which to build that capacity. And the good cop, bad cop relations with the rest of the EU in some ways has to do with the recognition of Kosovo and the conflict that represents. But those tensions, I think, are completely overwhelmed by the economic gains that are possible for both Serbia, the EU, as well as China.
Yeah, there's no question. And if you look at the way that President Xi was greeted in Serbia and now in Hungary, people out in the streets, Chinese flags. Let's go back to Serbia for just a bit, and you touched on the Belt and Road. What role does Serbia play as a key partner in China's Belt and Road initiative? And talk about some of the potential trade and investment opportunities that are out there for both Chinese and Serbian businesses.
Well, the rail connection between China and Western Europe is really key, and Serbia is a key junction in that road. You know, if not direct paths, but mainly through economic ties and trade ties, because Serbia is right in the heart of that Eastern European area that really is starving for capital. And by putting in the kind of capital that China is planning to put in, the growth benefits will be absolutely tremendous. And Western Europe then will get the benefit of a lot of imports that come from Eastern European, other European countries, Eastern European countries, which were its poor cousins. And this bootstraps the income that's in these countries to the level of the EU. You know, right now, Serbia's average income is about a quarter of that of the average EU country. So wow. Serbia really has a lot to gain by way of growth that comes from the infusion of foreign capital, especially from China.
You know, we also heard the Prime Minister of Serbia talk about the ironclad relationship that he believes Serbia has with China. So let's kind of break it down a bit, because as I understand it, solar panels, batteries, EVs, all these are on the table. Talk about Chinese investment and the cooperation in projects that are boosting Serbia's economic growth and development, and these mutually beneficial, the natures of these deals as well.
Well, the ironclad relationship between Serbia and China goes way back in terms of recognition, but also China's insistence on protecting sovereignty. And I think the Serbians recognize that with that political cover from China, they really can stand to grow tremendously by being, as I said, a conduit of investment from China into Serbia to develop manufacturing that then later exports into the rest of the EU. And right now, electric vehicles are certainly one place where China excels in production, and China's surplus capacity really is one where they can export electric vehicles directly into Serbia and help Serbia build its own automotive industry to export into the rest of Europe and the rest of the world. But the one thing that's missing, of course, is the electric infrastructure for Serbia. And guess what? That is part of Belt and Road, right? So there's a win-win opportunities all across the gambit of infrastructure investment, basic investments, and manufacturing investments that can lead to not only the Serbian market, but also the rest of the EU.
Indeed, an important and beneficial trip so far. William, thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.